This is Makera, the next generation of smart desktop CNCs. And today we're super excited to review their two CNCs, their flagship model, Carvera, and their entry model, Carvera Air. Both are designed to bridge the gap between hobbyist creativity and professional grade manufacturing. We'll be exploring the common features and the differences of each and putting them to the test with a variety of materials and projects, so you can decide which one is right for you. As a bonus, we'll take a look at the new Makera Cyclone dust extractor, which integrates flawlessly with either machine. So, let's get started. Welcome back to Space Age Tech, where we look at the tech that pushes the limits. To keep things simple, we'll refer to the Carvera Air as Air going forward. Here we have them side by side, and right off the bat, both machines come assembled, which makes both super beginner friendly. You can be up and running within an hour. The hardest part of the setup was lifting them onto the table. They're both deceivingly heavy, which actually helps with stability. The Carvera comes in at 110 pounds and the Air comes in at 66 pounds. So do your stretches and get help from a friend if needed. As you can see, they have a similar footprint and can fit any standard desk that's at least 24 inches deep. Both are fully enclosed, which helps tremendously with dust collection and noise levels. And they both have internally lit systems, which helps with monitoring your job progress. We even get laser engraving capabilities. We won't be testing out the laser modules today, but they have enough power to mark things like wood and other materials. As for differences that might sway you in either direction, we have the Carvera's auto tool changing feature. With the Carvera, you're able to program tool changes throughout your job. The Carvera then goes and swaps the tools from its 6-tool library, helping you run the project seamlessly without intervention. This process saves time and adds a lot of convenience. The Carvera also features an adjustable dust booth height. This allows for maximum suction and dust collection. The Air, on the other side, relies on monitoring and manual tool changing with a quick tool changing feature. One of the big advantages of the Carvera is its built-in dust extraction system. As debris is extracted, it gets collected in this clear dust bin, which makes it super easy to see if the bin is getting full so we can empty it. It has replaceable filters which can easily be purchased from the Makera website. The Carvera is not limited to its internal dust extraction system. It can also be connected to an external dust extraction system simply by switching the dust hose accordingly. The Air, on the other side, only supports an external dust extraction system. This will be an added cost to consider, but it also gives you the flexibility to choose a system that meets your needs. Another difference between these two is the guide rails. While the Carvera has enclosed guide rails, the Air does not. Keep this in mind, as open guide rails require a little more attention to detail. Keeping them clean will help your Air run smoothly. Overall, the Carvera has a slightly larger work area that is 2.4 inches longer and 1.5 inch wider than the Air. Let's take a closer look at the Makera Cyclone Dust Collector. This is the newest accessory from Makera and it's compatible with both machines as well as other third-party CNCs. The Cyclone Dust Collection System promises a max noise of 70 decibels. So let's take a listen. Here we can see the manual control in action. And we can really ramp up the speed as needed. If we're connected to the Carvera or the Air, we also have an automated control where the speed can be synced with the CNC software and automatically adjust during your job. The Cyclone features dual dust collection with cyclone separation and graded filtration, capturing large and fine dust particles at 99.99 filtration efficiency. When it comes to clean air, we have a 3-stage filtration system, a pre-filter sponge, plus a high-efficiency HEPA filter, plus activated carbon layer designed to filter fine particles and odors. The total life of the filter and filter cartridge is up to 300 hours of machining and dust collection time, at which point you would simply need to replace them for new ones. Setup is extremely simple. First, we connect our dust hose to the rear air inlet and the other side to our Carvera or Air. Then we insert our control cable, connect our power cable, and turn on our dust collector. And we're ready to go. All the dust is collected in the bottom portion of the Cyclone in this semi-transparent bin, so you're actually able to see when it's getting full. When it's time to toss the dust, you simply detach the bottom portion, throw it away, and reattach it. It's very simple. Here we can see it working side by side with a Carvera. A big advantage to this system is the size. At 11.81 inches by 10.62 inches and 13.92 inches tall, this dust collection system is extremely easy to set up in your space. It's a great size for any small shop, office, or educational settings. And even though it's small, we get a 6-liter dustbin capacity. We get a powerful suction of 40,000 RPM and max airflow of 900 liters per minute, keeping your work area free of debris. Let's get an inside look at our dust collection system. Here you can see all the dust being sucked into our dust collection bin. And as the job progresses, you'll be able to see the dust collection system doing its job and filling up our dust collection bin. Now that we're all set up, let's start testing. For our first test, we did a work area comparison in white oak. We're carving over the whole work area on both machines. First, we can see our auto probing and leveling feature at work on each machine. The probing maps out the height of the entire piece of wood with a 5x5 grid. Since the work area on the Carvera is a little bit larger, it takes longer to probe. By the way, these first few tests are without the Cyclone dust collection system. For the Air, we had to manually vacuum the dust periodically, and for the Carvera, you can see our integrated dust collection system at work. Since the bin is see-through, you can easily check if it needs to be emptied. Here we can see both machines at work and can really appreciate the design with the see-through lid and the lighting. You can see exactly what's going on with your carving. For these tests, we wanted to do something unique, so we generated an image of a bear and her cub. It's the same carving on both machines. We are just adjusting the size to fit the whole work area. Let's take a look at our results. As you can see, we need a little bit more experience generating AI images, as well as maybe tweaking some of the settings within the software. The good news is that both results are consistent and we are able to appreciate the work area difference between the Carvera and the Air. It really does depend on what you're trying to accomplish with your CNC. One thing we won't be sacrificing by choosing either one is quality, and we will see this throughout our test. For our next test, we're going to be using the 4th axis setup. This is an additional accessory available for both the Air and the Carvera. It allows you to carve cylindrical parts as we see here. This is a replica of a sculpture. The Air supports a maximum length of 7.9 inches, where the Carvera is 9.4 inches. So again, we see a little bit of the size difference at play. Diameter is the same for both at 3.5 inches max. This is our completed sculpture replica on the Carvera. We were very happy with the results and the level of detail we were able to carve in this replica. Something we might do a little bit different if we run this again would be to use a different finishing bit so we get more of a translucent finish than the opaque one that we're seeing here. We decided to try this carving again, but this time in black acetone. This is an engineering thermoplastic that's used because of its high stiffness, low friction, and excellent dimensional stability. Plus, it looks good. For our next few tests, we're going to be concentrating on the Carvera and putting it to the test with a bunch of materials and different types of projects. This one, for example, is just a simple walnut block, but we're gonna try to turn it into a jewelry tray. We created the design in Fusion 360 and imported using the Carvera controller. During the carving process, we had to empty our dustbin, and unfortunately, we bumped the walnut wood block, causing these ripples in our ripple pattern. We thought this was definitely ironic. We sanded down some of the ripples, and we'll see the finished project in our overview at the end of this video. Our next test is also on wood, but this time we have a 1-inch cube. And this time we want to test the level of detail we can get on these smaller pieces. Smaller pieces like this need to be clamped down securely to avoid shifting during the carving process. Lucky for us, we have a really good result. Next, we tried the same design, but this time using MDF. If you've seen our previous laser engraving reviews, you know that this material is great to engrave, but it's quite difficult to cut using a laser engraver. But as you can see, this is much easier with the Carvera. Plus, we get a nice deep carving. Next, we tried the same design, but this time in cork. And we got the same great results. The Carvera did great in these softer materials, but what about if we want to use it to make parts or custom jewelry? How will it do with metal? Let's find out. Here we have a copper flat bar. This is 6 millimeters thick or 1/4 inch. We'll use the same design and cut it into a coin. This is mainly to test if we can design and make our very own custom jewelry in the Carvera. There are a few finishing steps, for example, removing the tabs and maybe applying a patina if that's the look you're going for. Here's our completed product, a really nice sample of what the Carvera can do. Earlier we mentioned that we use Fusion 360, however, both machines are compatible with the free Makera software as well as other popular design software like SolidWorks, AutoCAD, VCAD Pro, Aspire, Illustrator, and others. A lot of flexibility when it comes to software. They really want to make it easy for you to get started at any experience level, and definitely a huge money saver if you use the Makera software as opposed to other subscription-based options. So far we're doing great, so let's test a few more metals. This time we're carving the surface of the moon in this 3/8 inch aluminum bar. Here are our results for our aluminum carving of the moon. This is amazing. We love the different hues of grays depending on the depth of the carving. This is just a natural occurrence, but it mimics the moon really well. Let's try titanium, one of the hardest materials to machine. The Carvera did really well with this tough material. We basically just cut out a few simple shapes that we'll then use for other reviews or for parts. For our last metal carving, we're gonna do a whiskey stone. This is stainless steel. This is a small metal cube used to keep your whiskey cold without having to add ice. No real surprises here. Our Celtic knot turned out really nicely. We did notice that it's a little bit off center, but we attribute this to human error. Earlier we discussed how different bits produce a different finish. Let's test out that theory by carving a topographical relief of California. We were aiming for a more translucent finish on this topographical map of California. To achieve this effect, we used a ball nose bit. We got some wonderful results. We love the finish and the fact that you can see and feel every single mountain range. It's just amazing. And you can compare this result to our acrylic clear statue earlier in the video, which was done with an engraving bit. Let's do one last project, this time on PETG. This is a 3D print that had a lot of defects. This can be due to moisture in the filament, but let's say we had a tolerance or spec to meet. We could just toss it out and start again, but let's see if we can salvage it with the Carvera. This was a piece of cake, but made a huge difference, especially when you compare it to the original texture. We just saved some time and a little bit of money on materials as well. We had a lot of fun with both the Carvera and the Air. Both machines were super easy to set up and get started. And they really rose to every challenge we put them through. Both were super beginner friendly and flexible. That's not to say there's not a learning curve, but we think beginners will find it both easy and fun. Let's take a closer look at our projects. Considering that this is our first test on both machines, we were able to work with the software, hardware, and materials easily. One thing we did notice was that using the internal Wi-Fi was the best way to connect to either machine, especially with larger files. And of course, there is always a learning curve, which was apparent with our work area test. But regardless, we saw a lot of potential with carving and cutting metals like copper, aluminum, and stainless steel. We also explored small and medium-sized projects on wood, cork, and MDF, and even some plastics and acrylics with our 4th axis tools. And even though these machines are desktop CNCs, we do think there's a lot of potential uses in engineering, business, and even crafting. These are remarkably well-built machines that really exceeded our expectations. There are no flimsy components or unreliable software. We had a lot of fun comparing these machines and seeing these projects come to life. Did you have a favorite project or a favorite machine? Let us know in the comments. At the end of the day, we favored the Carvera a little bit more because of its integrated dust collection and the automatic tool changing feature. But the Air is a solid choice as well if those options are not needed. Which one would you get? Let us know in the comments. If you're ready to get yours, check out the links in the description. We'll be reviewing this and other amazing technology in our upcoming videos. If you enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe. It really helps our channel grow.